All right, everybody. Welcome to the Houston Citywide. Thank you guys for coming. My name is Douglas, and I'm an alcoholic. Hey. I'm here to help introduce our presenter for the workshop, and his name is Kenneth M. And he's going to be discussing taking the steps. Is there a time factor? So, again, thank you all for coming. We appreciate it. And I give you Kenneth. Thank you very much.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Kenneth. I'm an alcoholic.
Thank you, Kenneth.
First, I'd like to say it's a great day to be sober, and it's only by God's grace and His mercy that I'm sober. It's a direct result of being given a sponsor and Him taking me through the 12 steps, and I recovered. And it's really as simple as that. I'm not stupid enough or dumb enough to think I'm sober on my own power. I'd like to say that, and I'd like to give thanks to the people at the Jackson Hill Conference, and most specifically the Citywide group for inviting me here. I'd like to thank Jenny for inviting me over here, and this subject is going to be, it's entitled Taking the Steps. Is there a time factor? And I made sure that I had notes because I'm positive that there are big book thumpers in here. I'm very positive of that. And the statement comes up, if I was to ask, or we were to ask, the average alcoholic throughout the Alcoholics Anonymous world, does the big book mention anything about time in taking the steps? What would most people say? What would most people say? They would say emphatically no. Right or wrong? The big book does not mention time at all in the taking of steps. What I'm here to tell you, that's one of the greatest misconceptions in the Alcoholics Anonymous world. It's one of the greatest misconceptions in the Alcoholics Anonymous world that has to be stated again. So, before we go into for me to back that up, I'll say that the word steps really needs to be understood. First of all, if I ask the average person in Alcoholics Anonymous throughout the AA world, most people will tell me it's four principles. They'll say this, they'll say that, they'll say this, they'll say that. But when I go to the Webster's Dictionary and find out what the meaning of steps is, it tells me it's grades, levels, degrees, stages, or measures in a process that's designed to achieve a specific result. If I ask the average person in Alcoholics Anonymous, what is this message of step 12? And some people will tell me spiritually, it's recovery. Or they'll say everything but what Bill and the first 100 were saying. They specifically tell me exactly what message and carry. This message, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps, you try to carry this message. And the word this means the thing present, nearby, or just mentioned. So what was just mentioned before the word this, having had a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. That's the message I'm carrying. The message of a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. Now, I'm going to read something from the book of Alcoholics Anonymous before we begin. They tell us in the foreword, we are all 100 men and women who have recovered from a seemingly hopeless state of mind and body to show other alcoholics precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. Most of the people in here, I would gather, are familiar with that. Am I right or wrong? Yeah. All right. This word, can you all see this?
Yes.
What is it? Precisely. That word. According to the dictionary, means concise. It comes from the word concise. It means exactly or sharply defined, strictly conforming to a pattern, standard, or convention. Exactly or sharply defined. They're telling us we have recovered, and to show others precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. And that word purpose, I need to write that down. Because by doing this will help clear up the statement that I made in the very beginning. That word purpose is something set up as an object or an end to be attained. Can everybody hear me? It's an intention, a resolution, a determination, a subject under discussion, or an action in course of execution. An action in course of execution. To show others precisely how we have recovered is the main purpose of this book. Then on page 20, for the newcomer, he said, you may have already asked yourself why it is that all of us became so very ill from drink. Doubtless, you are curious to discover how and why, in the face of expert opinion to the contrary, we have recovered from a hopeless condition of mind and body. If you are an alcoholic who wants to get over it, you may already be asking, what do I have to do? It is the purpose of this book to answer such questions specifically. That's a word that needs to be wrote down. Can y'all read that?
Yes.
Specifically, it is the purpose of this book. Notice how the words are intertwined. Of this book to answer such questions specifically. Then it says, before going into a detailed discussion, it may be well to summarize some points as we see them. And this is another word that's been highly underlooked. What's up, Pat? Well, I can give you a hug here. I'm going to hug my sponsor anywhere I feel. He said, before going into a detailed discussion, now we remember, most of us that's been through the book, the doctor told us that they had no hope, had given up, and the Dr. Silkworth said, when he was asked to contribute a few words on the subject which is covered in masterly detail. Y'all remember that? Do you all remember that?
Yes.
He said it gave him a sense of real satisfaction to be asked to contribute a few words, contribute a few words on a subject which is already covered in masterly detail. That word has also been not really looked at. And the meaning of that is it's a detailed, precise presentation of something, of a plan or proposal for something, the small elements that collectively constitute a work of art. The small elements that collectively constitute a work of art. It also means to report minutely and distinctly, to furnish with the smaller elements of design and finish. That's according to Master Weber. That's his is that the small words in the big book have been overlooked and underlooked because I think I already understand them. That is why people have said and will say that the big book does not mention time. Did y'all hear that? Yes. All right. I'm going to open this up for questions and answers when I'm finished because I most certainly want to hear some of y'all. We done laid out that we're dealing with something that's a solution that's precisely, right? We also been told that we follow clear-cut direction, purpose, specifically, and detail. Now, what do I do when a person comes to me and he wants to recover? Can you take me through the steps? What do I do? Do I tell him to read the first 164 pages? You give the average alcoholic an opportunity to read or drink or smoke, and he'll be drunk every trip. I hear many people say, what step are you on? I'm on step 2. How long have you been there? I've been there 3 months. Well, I'm on step 3. How long have you been there? 2 months. Well, I'm on step 4. I've been there 6 months. And then they're coming back to the room saying, I went out. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Whose directions are they following? The big book has told us in every Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, most every Alcoholics Anonymous meeting, rarely have we seen a person fail who has thoroughly followed our path. Thoroughly means completely, who has thoroughly followed our path. What is exactly their path? Did they lay out a formula for us to travel with? Did they lay out minute, exact, precise instructions on how to take the 12 steps and when to take the 12 steps? Did they do that? That's the question before us today. The big book tells us in working with others that I should ask him to read the book in the interval. Not to read the whole book. But before they even send us the bill, they send us to the doctor. They give us the doctor before they give us bill even in the book because I have a problem and I need to know what the problem is. So when a person comes to me and asks me to take him through the steps, I suggest that they read the doctor's opinion. Underline the words that they don't understand, if they can read. Look them up in the dictionary, and then call me. Then I show them that the doctor's opinion is just a very few pages as compared to 164 pages. So that means that that person, if they have the gift of desperation, should be calling me before that day is over. Am I right or wrong? Right. All right, if they call me that night, and I'm already in bed, I said, can you see me at the 6:30 in the morning? 6:30? That's what I say. If they have their definition, and they give me the words that they didn't understand, then I can go over the doctor's opinion with them, make sure that they understand what the allergy is, how it triggers the phenomenal breaker. I can make sure that he understands what he's faced with. He's sick, mind, and body. And the solution, according to the doctor himself, he said the man became sold on the ideas in this book. In another place he said he accepted the plan outlined in this book, right? So this person now knows why he is following, so he can actually take step 1. He can take step 1 with some understanding. So I turn to page 30, where step 1 is, and I or death. Then, they said, we learned that we had to fully conceive. Notice the descriptive language Bill is using. He didn't say we had to conceive. We had to fully conceive to our innermost selves that we were alcoholics. This is the first step in recovery. The word is. The meaning of the word is the present tense of be. If it's the present tense of be as in present, past, or future, it's dealing with time. This is the first step. The word first means, according to the dictionary. So I don't want to say what Kenneth is saying. According to Master Webster and a few others, Miriam and all the rest of them. First, before or above all others in time. When we go to big book studies, do they look up words? Do y'all look up words in the dictionary in the big book? Answer me. All right. First, before or above all others in time, order, rank, or importance. Preceding all others in time. That's the meaning of the word first. Am I right or wrong? Right. Well, when it says this is the first step in recovery, he's talking about time. All right. Once I can make that admission, and I admit that I'm powerless, a man can't say powerless long. Any man, nobody can't say powerless too long because that's a dilemma. They will say we had to find a power. And it had to be a power greater than ourselves. But where and how do we find this power, right? Then it locates where the power is on page 55. It tells us deep down in every man, woman, and child is the fundamental idea of God. Is that right or wrong? Right. That's another idea. Only it's not an insane idea, it's a fundamental idea. Only this idea does not lead into obsessions, illusions, and delusions. This idea leads into a great reality where there are no illusions or delusions. Did y'all hear what I said? And I take him right back to page 47. Once we located where the power is, and he realizes that he's obscured, that power is obscured, and he realizes he's blind. Page 47 says this. I ask you, do you believe in God? Do you believe in any power greater than yourself? If you're an atheist, because I work with atheists, agnostics, unbelievers, disbelievers, Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, Jews, whatever. And there's a way to approach each and every one of them without disturbing whatever conception they have. Once he says, yes, he does believe that there's a power greater than himself, and that that power could restore him to sanity, he can hope right there from his belief. And page 47 will say this. As soon as a man can say, not right, for there is no writing in step 1, and there is no writing in step 2. Not according to the textbook of Alcoholics Anonymous. Now, some of our sponsors may have had us doing it, but, however, we're not concerned with it. Those sponsors are doing the best that they can with what they have. So we're going to leave that, we're going to deal with it and apply the 10 conditions because we're not allied with anything outside of what we're dealing with. We're talking strictly about the textbook of Alcoholics Anonymous and the plan of the first 108 hours. Is everybody with me on that? Yes. All right. The word soon, according to the dictionary, because it says as soon as a man can say he believes, or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure him that he is on his way. Then it tells us that it's been repeatedly proven among us, that upon this simple cornerstone, a wonderfully effective spiritual structure can be built. Is that what the book says? Yes. Yeah, I knew they had some big book numbers in there. So, the word soon Did y'all hear that?
Breaking my ear joke, though. I gotta talk a little.
Hey, I gotta say, man, I appreciate what you're saying, but it's way too loud out here.
Yeah,
It's making
it's
me
really
jump.
loud, thank you.
It's making me jump, and I'm freaking on. I don't understand, so.
I'm glad of that.
Thank you.
I didn't think I needed it from the beginning. Thank you very, very much. Okay. Did you all hear the definition of the word soon? All right. They said we emphatically assure him he's on his way. On his way where? The book is nothing you can ask of the big book that the big book can't answer. The big book gives an explanation for everything it says. It proves what it was talking about, and we'll get to that. But in step 2, as soon as he can say he believes, or is willing to believe, we emphatically assure him he's on his way. And he's on his way, you all, to step 3. That's where he's on his way at. Since he made a decision that he's powerless, or she. He's come to believe that a power greater than them could restore their sanity. So in step 3, they're going to tell us on page 60. Being convinced, we were at step 3. And if y'all know that step 3 mentions itself twice, am I still too loud?
No.
Good. He said, being convinced we were at step 3. And for those of us, of you all who really study the book, when they say we were at step 3, they have it in italicized letters, right or wrong? Because step 3 is going to mention itself again on page 63, right or wrong? Well, why is it in italicized letters?
Emphasis is important.
Why is it so important? The key word is at. At means in the vicinity of, or at the location of, but not necessarily there. So they're going to tell us just what do we mean by that, and just what do we do, right? They're going to say, forget what you think it means. I'm ad-libbing, y'all. Or somebody said, the book didn't say that, I said that. What do we mean by that, and just what do we do? Then they're going to tell us about the first requirement, is that I be convinced that any life run on self-will can hardly be a success. On that basis, I'm almost always in collision with something or somebody. That's when they're going to move me, like my sponsor did, from drugs being a problem in my mind to the real problem being selfishness and self-centered. To be honest with you, when my sponsor told me that alcohol and whatever else I was using wasn't my problem, I thought he was crazy. And he showed me in the book about selfishness and self-centered. That we think is the root of our problem. Then it said, driven by 100 forms of fear, self-delusion, self-pity. Fear. We step on the toes of our fellows every carrier. And when they finish doing all of that, they're going to go and say, we're going to have to make a decision. They're going to tell us we're going to let God be the director hereafter in this drama of life. And once we sincerely took such a position, all sorts of remarkable things follow. Then they're going to say we were now at step 3. After they explain what they said, what they meant, y'all hear me? They're going to say, now we are at step 3. That's what the book says. And the word now means at the present what? Time. And then I'm going to say this prayer. God, I offer myself to thee, to build with me and to do with me as thou wilt. Relieve me of the bondage of self, that I may better do thy will. Take away my difficulties, that victory over them may bear witness to those I would help, of thy power, thy love, and thy way of life. For you big book thumpers, notice that Bill changed the language. He starts speaking these and thys and thines and stuff. He starts speaking proper English to show the weight and the meaning, because thy don't mean the same thing as yours. Thine don't mean he said, once we sincerely took such a position. That's one of the qualifications. I remember reading in other books that there were two brothers a long time ago. Each one of them made an offering on an offering of sacrifice. One was accepted and one was rejected. I myself have experience in being in prison for the first time at 17. A young, good-looking boy. I was taking a shower, and the guy saw me taking a shower, and he offered me a pack of cigarettes and some cookies. The bottom line is all offerings are not accepted. Y'all hear me? That offering has to be qualified with sincerity. He might have been sincere, but he wasn't honest and humble. Y'all hear what I'm saying? On the bottom of the page, they said, if it was honestly and humbly made. Now, great effect was felt at once. Is that what the book says? Yes. So my offering is conditional upon the conditions that they're giving me. The book is written in masterly detail. This is what I'm saying. Right after I say that prayer, they're going to come up with this word. Next. Right? The word next means immediately following in time or space. Am I right or wrong? All right. We launched out on a vigorous course of action. We made a strenuous and we made a strenuous and say it again? No. Anyway, we made a vigorous attempt to find out the stuff that's in us that's blocking us, which many of us had never attempted. Right or wrong? All right. The word there was next. I'm going into step 4 right after I said the third step prayer. Right? Now, when I finish my inventory, that book gonna tell me, let's get this. It's gonna tell me when we decide who is to hear our story, we waste no what? Time, right? If I was thorough, I'd have written down a lot, and I'm ready for a long talk, right? I'm going to illuminate every dark cranny, twist of character of the past, right? I had to look at them too. But I'm sticking to the point because time is important. Once I've taken this step, withholding nothing, we are delighted. That's what they say, right? We can look the world in the eye. Right? It's good. Our fears fall from us, right? We begin to feel we're walking hand in hand with the spirit of the universe. Right or wrong? That's what they give us. For those of us who have been honest and have been sorry and illuminated every dark cranny nook of the past, we had that feeling. Am I right or wrong? Because I'm no longer walking with all that waste inside of me. And I'm going to share something with y'all. When I said waste, I meant just that. To show you the detail that the book is mentioning, they said, before I get to 5, right before I get to 5, they said, if I've been thorough, I've swallowed and digested some big chunks of truth about myself, right? And then into action, they're going to say, now these are about to be cast out. Are y'all listening to the language he used? Once I swallow and digest anything, the next thing I do is what? Huh? Oh, let's put it here. Let's put it here. This is what I do, y'all. I defecate. Right or wrong? Once I swallow and digest, the next thing I do is defecate. Assimilation, digestion, it out, so I need a solution. So I take this water, hot water, whatever it is, and I run it back there. And then I wait because it's a process. Because I'm stuck up. I got years of stuff in me. Then all of a sudden my stomach starts rumbling. And I run to the restroom. And it all comes out. The problem with that is my stuff stinks. Did y'all know that the word defect come off the word defecation? It stinks so bad I don't want nobody to smell it, let alone see it. So I call in what you call a feces-ologist. Some people call him a shitologist. You call him a sponsor. Because he's been stirring this stuff for quite a while. And he's able to tell me, Kenneth, it's not the greens messing with you, it's the beans. Y'all hear me? That's the fifth step. The language Bill used was the language, see what we've been giving you all is principles. Principles must work on all levels in order to be principles. An axiom has to be true at all times in order to be an axiom. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Yeah. So once they tell me I go home, I'm going to check myself. See if your stone's properly in place. They say you're going to return home for 1 hour. And when they're going to tell me this, if I want this stuff moved out the way, and I can answer with my satisfaction that I have been thorough in the first 5 steps, they're going to say we then look at step 6. Am I right or wrong? The word then means at that time and not before. Did y'all hear that? The word then means at that. The big book tells you exactly when to go into the next step. Most people have missed the masterly details with which this book has been written. That's why they say there's no element of time in the big book. But before it's over with, if you still of that impression, what Dr. Bob said, he said, I feel sorry for you. I think something like that he said. Whatever the form of intellectual pride keeps you from accepting what is in this book, I feel sorry for you. I think that's what he said. So hopefully we won't, have anybody that's doubting that there's a time element in the steps. But when we take step 6, we then look at step 6. They say if we're really ready, they say when ready, we say something like this. That word when, y'all follow me in step 7? When ready. The word when means, let me get this right before I'm challenged. At what or which time? See, Bill was very wise, especially at the 7th step. So you couldn't nail it down and say a specific time. He said, at what or which time? See, if I can answer to my satisfaction, whenever my satisfaction is answered, he said, when ready. At what or which time? At the time that. That's what the word when means. Y'all heard it? I'm going to say, my creator, not my maker, like I said in step 3. In step 3, I said my maker. But now I'm saying my creator. I am what ready? Now ready. That you should have all of me, right? The good and the bad. I pray that you what? I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character that stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from where? The word here is also designated in this time or this place to do your business. May I do your will always. Am I right or wrong? All right, after step 7, remember what they say. Notice the right. When ready, we say something like this. In other words, I'm just talking. Because right after that, they're going to say, now it's time for more action. Without which we find that faith without works is dead. Is that what the book says? He said, if I really want God to move or remove all my defects of character, I'm going to realize that my defects of character have caused harm to other people. Y'all hear that? So, in order for me to put action with the prayer and validate the prayer and make the prayer real, I'm going to need action with it. So they say, now it's time for more action. And if you really look at the 12 steps, and you see how the 12 steps are written, you're going to see that the very way they're written is showing us that faith without works is dead. Those first 100 men and women was a group of people that I greatly honor. I respect them very, very highly for giving me such a book to read, to save my life. Y'all hear what I'm saying? I found out that this is a book, and in this book, I have enough to keep me busy for the rest of my natural life, and 6 more lives if I get them. Y'all hear? Yeah. So I give a lot of credit to the first 100, because they were a power greater than me. When I looked up in the dictionary and go to Roget's Thesaurus, instead of the Latin derivations from which the word came, I find out they had already been there. So they said, now it's time for more action. So when you look at the 12 steps, step 3 is a prayer, faith. After faith comes action in 4. After 7, it's a prayer, faith. After that comes action in step 8. In step 11, it's a prayer, faith. After that comes action. Are y'all with me? Yeah. I'm talking about the national detail that not that I came up with it. It was already in the book. Y'all hear me? Yeah. I'm just looked it up and said, wow, this would help a sponsor be a better sponsor. If the sponsor had enough faith in what was written in the book and followed the recipe in the book instead of his own head or the way my sponsor brought me through, I'm doing it the way my sponsor brought me through it, and never check and see what the sponsor really had, then there's no room for growth. They told us to be open-minded, stay open-minded, because more will be revealed. Didn't they tell us that? Right. So that's an effective way, because we grow in understanding and effectiveness at step 10. So in step 8, it goes say, now it's time for more action. So let's look at 8 and 9, right? They conjoining both of them together, 8 and 9. And in step 10, it will say we continue to take personal inventory, and when wrong, promptly admit it, right? When wrong. But continue. The word continue means to extend in time or space. Did y'all hear it? Yeah. The word continue, once you look it up in the dictionary, it means to extend in time or space. So the 10th step is governed also, and we told also about time in all steps so far. Am I right or wrong? Answer me.
Right.
All right. Well, in step 11, when step 11 actually introduces itself, it's going to say, when retiring at night. Right? When, again, Bill was so wise that the word when means at what or which time? At the time that. Yeah. You couldn't catch him. We couldn't just hook him and say, well, I find a contradiction. Or I find a contradiction. Nah, he didn't left no way for no contradiction. He left absolutely none. And then when he gets to step 12, he's going to say, haven't had. Had is a past participle of had. He used a present and a past word. When he said haven't had, means there's something already in my possession as a result of doing the 12 steps. We tried, which means to something that's tested, proven, and can be relied on. Try to carry this message, not my sponsor's message, not nobody else's message, the message of Alcoholics Anonymous, the message of a spiritual awakening as a result of these steps. Are you with me on that? Yes. Anybody got any questions? Come on.
How long does it take for you? What's your record and how short a time that you have taken someone through the steps?
How long And how short?
Yeah.
Okay. First, I'll answer you how long. All right? They got one guy that I had outlined for step 4 years ago. And he just got on step 4 again yesterday. How long? That's when the person's unwilling. Now, how short? When I get a person that's willing. When I get a person that's willing. Let's deal with that. I asked him to read the doctor's opinion. He has the gift of desperation. I met him again the next morning. The very next morning, we ascertained that he was powerless. He knows he's powerless. I go to page 30 in the big book. When it says this is the first step in recovery, I'm going through that and explaining it to him. So he realizes he's powerless. He comes to believe. We explain step 2 right then at the same sitting. Then we go to step 3. We don't want that right in the same setting. Approximately 2 to 3 hours. Before he leaves me, I outline for step 4. I write down just what they said in the big book. We were definite as this example. We were usually as definite as this example. I outline what the resentment is, the cause, the effect, where he's at fault, his fears list, his sex inventory, and I tell him to hand it by tomorrow. Because the book said we launched out on a course of vigorous action. We did not take our time. They said in the big book, we in our turn toward the same escape with all the desperation of a drowning man. A drowning man is not taking time about getting out of the water unless he don't know he's drowning. That's the only time he's going to take his time about getting out of the water. If he has his 4th step ready by the next day, I process the 5th step. How many days is that so far? When the process the 5th step with him, I send him home for 1 hour to reflect upon what he has done. If he does that, he'll be calling me the same day, right? And he's willing to God remove. He says the prayer, and after that, he immediately makes a list of all the people he has home. How many days is that? Right. That's when he starts making amends. Right after that. Like when people thought Dr. Bob was drunk and wasn't coming home, Dr. Bob had told them, I've been out making amends. Y'all remember that? There is a vision for you. There was a guy who was a hard case. He had knocked out a couple of nurses, I think. He was the man on the bed. Bill and Bob went to see him. And when they went to see him, the book tells us, on the day of the 3rd day, on the 3rd day, the man rose and walked out of there a free man. Am I right or wrong?
You're right. You're right.
Of course I am. So, soon as he started making the man, and he got a handle on actually doing it, I called him in. Well, if he's serious and he's 2-3 days, he done made some amends, I called him in. Or if he starts making them that day, he tell me he made 4 or 5 amends, I called him in 10. I start right at the promise. He should be having a good feeling by now. Then I take him right into step 10, where they say, this thought brings us to step 10. What thought? That they will always materialize these promises if we work for them. So if he keeps doing the same thing he did, he's going to keep knowing a new freedom and a new happiness. So how many days is that? I go through 10 levels, reading with it and breaking it down. And then tell him I'm going on the 7th chapter. This is the 7th chapter working with others? Yeah. Read those first 2 paragraphs. Tell him get somebody to work with, just like I work with you. How many days was that? Answer. Does it take a long time to get you to step? If I got a sponsor that's got me on step 1 for a month, I probably need another sponsor. Or I need my sponsor to get further addictions in his recovery. Or to be open-minded. Is that understood? Yes. Now, again, our purpose is not to offend anyone. Our intention is to help sponsors to become better sponsors. Now, if I made any headway in showing something of the master details in this book, I'm all right with that. Any other questions? Have I answered your question? Kind of hard, isn't it?
I'm Carolyn.
Hello, Cal.
I'm alcoholic. Thank you for your service, Kenny. I just wanted to break down briefly just a little bit further the importance. Why? Because I know for me and probably a lot of people are familiar with the old way of doing things and taking a long time to take people through the 12 steps. This is something new, different, and you know what I mean? So what have you observed in your experiences and the experiences people have shared with you on the benefits of why it's so important to not take so long to take through these steps?
I seen one lady, her sponsor, she's on 2 months on step 1. This is one of the reasons why right now at Delta Club we have a 12-step sponsorship workshop every third Saturday of the month. It's for this particular woman. This woman, Bruce, was there that night. This woman was on the first step. Her sponsor had her on the first step for 2 months. The woman was saying, you need to move me further. I've been here too long. I know the steps work, but you got me on step 1 for 2 months now. I'm all messed up. See, because once I start drinking, my problems go up on another level up here, and I ain't drinking, so it ain't worse now. Why it's so important? Because we came up here with restless, irritable, and discontented, with problems that have piled up on us becoming extremely difficult to solve. Once I start drinking, all that still happens. I would need a solution, quick. In other words, an alcoholic don't need to be sitting in triage. He needs to be rushed to the operating room. My sponsor said he's losing blood. Y'all hear me? This woman fired her sponsor. I don't want to use the language that she used, because you all look like illustrious, intelligent, and respectful.
Yeah, we are now.
She went through the steps. It was less than about 9-10 days, not that long, and she recovered. She recovered to the best I know. Right now she hasn't had a drink, and she moved. So this message can be given to people in the Alcoholics Anonymous world that have a better chance. Her name was Brandon. There's another lady who's been. How many people have been taken through the steps in the order that we just outlined? How many people have had success with the people that they have worked with in the order that we outlined? Now, does anybody disagree with the order that we outlined? See how open-minded we are? If that be the case or that don't be the case, I am honored, very thankful for being coming over here and standing before you all. It's a great honor. It's a privilege. I'm so thankful. Thank you all very much. My name is Kenneth. I'm alcoholic.
Thank you, guys. And